Afternoon guys, Joe here again from 4Pack Adventures. In this video I was just going to do a bit more in depth on the menus and what each function does in the menu, and go over the ballistics, which is what I'm up to next. I've obviously sighted this thing in, as you saw in the last video. Had a few hiccups along the way, but that's all part of it. So we've got through to the sighting in process. Now I need to stick in the ballistics into the calculator, which is going to help us with setting this thing up through the final stages, so that obviously shooting at distance, this thing will tell me where to place the marker for shot placement, which I'm looking forward to sort of getting into actually. There was a few things that I didn't sort of touch on too much, which is the aperture ring. For anyone that doesn't know what the aperture is, it just lets more light in or less light. So during daytime hunting you can adjust the aperture and it sort of doesn't make it so bright in the lens at the front, which is quite a handy feature to have. Apart from that, I'm just going to dive into the menu and show you guys pretty much just the basic run through of all the features and all the menus, and yeah, let's get into it. Right, guys, I've just linked it all up through live view. I'll just get straight into the menu stuff. As you can see from the standard screen there, you've got on the left hand side the moon, which just means I'm in night mode. The next one down, the camera, is pre-recorded, so when you take a shot it records 7 seconds, so that if you actually forget to press record on the scope itself, there's like a bit of a backup for you, which is quite a cool feature. You can change that, but I'll show you a bit further in the menu. Next one down is hotspot, just to let you know it's on, and the battery life there underneath, and then your magnification there. On the right hand side up the top you've got B2, which is 30 yards, which is what I've set the scope up for when I did sighting it in the other day. And then you've got your LRF, which when you press it it'll give you the reading in yards, and then you've got the drop there in inches, which I'll just explain a bit later on. So I'll get into the menu for now. So long push on the toggle at the top there on the scope, and it starts usually at the top there, but because I was just in it before it started halfway down. So we've got the brightness there. Next one down is contrast. Next one down is the modes that you need to choose. So day, night, there's a green mode, a yellow mode, which is quite cool on dusk, the yellow, and then auto. And obviously auto is when the scope detects that it's dark enough, it changes between day from day to night. So I'll keep that in day. Next one down is albums. This is quite cool. Obviously if you pre-record or you record, it's saved internal memory, and you can actually go back into the scope and have a look at that. So I guess if you shot at something and you weren't quite sure about placement or what had happened, and you recorded it, you can go back in and have a bit of a watch and see if you can see what happened, which I think is pretty cool. Next one down is advanced settings. So I'll click on that. That usually starts there. Zeroing profiles. So you've got 5 profiles that you can have in the scope. So you've got A to E, and then under each one of those letters you have a number that you can set up all the information that you want to store underneath that letter, if that sort of makes sense. So I've set the 22 up with B and then number 2, and obviously when we get to the 223 it'll be A and number 1, and then all of that information stored underneath that letter. So hopefully that makes sense. So obviously when you go into zeroing, which we went into a bit the other day, you can see that I've chosen B as my first option, and then 2 as going to store all the information underneath that letter. So I've got 30 yards, you can see there. I've got the type of reticle, the color of reticle, the magnification that I set when I was doing the initial setting up, and freeze, which I've already sort of explained, and then the axis there, that once you've freezed it you need to move that to where your bullet went, and then save it all in it, and then sort of zeros the crosshairs where you really want them to be. So I'll go back out of there. Ballistic calculator, usually that is off, so I've just turned it on because I've stuck all my information in there. Ballistic profile, so obviously you need to make sure that the profile you're setting up with your ballistic calculation and all your info is the same as the profile you've set up originally. So I'm B2, so I'm setting it up as number 2. Aim a point is just once you set up your ballistic calculator and put all your information in, this crosshair comes up, and that is going to be your, I guess, point of impact going forward. And you can obviously change that to different shapes. I just like the cross because it's nice and easy to see. Okay, aim point color, you can obviously change that. My bullets are G1. My velocity is 1,050 feet per second. Altitude I haven't worried about. Temperature I haven't worried about, but I mean obviously you can put that in. My BC is 0.120. My sight height, which is pretty important, is 2.44 inches. Now sight height is obviously the centre of your barrel to the centre of your scope, and that's pretty important. You wouldn't want to sort of get that too wrong. Otherwise it's not going to help with your ballistic calculator trying to work out the drop over distance for your bullets. And then once you put all that in, you press a long push, and then you need to save it. You need to save that information. Right, I'll get back out of there. Then you go down to central reticle. Now from what I've read up on, before they did a firmware update, when you were setting your scope up for the first time, obviously when you moved your crosshairs, when you were setting things up, it could end up being set up slightly off center, but they've fixed that, and it's just central reticle now, so obviously it stays in the center of the screen for you. Next one down is continuous, so you click on that and you got continuous and multiple. Now this has got to do with your magnification. Like I said, you've got 3.5 to 28. So in continuous it just goes up in small increments. It starts at 3.5, goes to 4, 4.5, 5, 5.56 and so on. If you go to multiple, it goes 3.5, 7, 14, 28. So it just jumps in bigger increments. So depending on the style of hunting you do, I guess, whether you want to zoom in really quick, then you'd have it in multiple. I just like continuous because you can just sort of slowly move in and out. It makes it nicer for the style of hunting we do. Next one down is laser ranging. Because I've already set up my ballistic calculator, it only lets you do it once, but before that you could change it to do it every 5 seconds, every 10 seconds, 10-second increments, so it just constantly keeps ranging all the time. But yeah, I've just got that on once. Obviously there's hotspots, obviously you can see the password there. You go into your Wi-Fi on your phone. Once you've downloaded the app, put in that password, and then you're in. It's pretty straightforward, and then you just link up your phone, and the app's really cool. That's pre-record that I was talking about before. Obviously you can have 7 seconds, 10, 15. So obviously if you forget to press record, this is like a bit of a backup, which is a nice option to have. Audio, which is self-explanatory, on or off. Smart IR, so smart IR is once you've got your IR torch on top and you're obviously at night hunting around, and you might turn around and be quite close to something and the light flares, that sort of stops that flare with the scope. Auto screen off, so this feature here is if you drop the gun more than 70 degrees on the angle, or up 70 degrees, left or right 35 degrees, it automatically switches the screen off, which is quite a cool feature to have. Function settings, so you've got at the top there on-screen display. If you click on that, you've got date and time that you can obviously have displayed on the screen, and then you can just obviously turn it all off or turn it on. If you turn that off, it actually takes away just about everything apart from your laser range-finding info at the top in the right hand corner, so you can have sort of like next to nothing on the screen. but I just like having the basics on the left hand side there. So I'll get back out of there. That there is pitch scale. Pitch scale is just what I was talking about with the 70 degree down and up and the 35 left and right to get the auto screen off. Brand logos, just the Hikmicro logo down the bottom on the left hand side. You can have that on or off. Get back out of there, and then you've got general settings. General settings, so you've got, usually starts up the top, sorry, so you've got language, date, time, you can have it in 12 or 24 hour. You can set this to yards or meters. Doesn't have anything to do with your ballistic information or anything else. It's just the readout that you see on the screen. That's all that is. Auto power off or on, you can set that from 15 minutes to 30 to 45. Obviously, if you if you got back to the truck and you're hunting and you ended up chucking it in your gun bag, obviously you can set it so it automatically turns off and doesn't drain the battery while you're driving home for 2 hours or something. Restore is really important. If you do a firmware update with the scope, it only takes place and actually works if you do a restore. So it's really important that once you do a firmware update, you go into the setting and restore the phone, and then the firmware takes action. Then reset, which is pretty self-explanatory if you need to do that. Diagnostic log, I'm not sure what that is yet. I'm going to look into that one. And version, you can click on that and obviously see just to make sure you're in the latest version, and then it shows you how much space you have, internal memory. So that's a bit of a rundown on the menus and stuff in here. Just go back out to the start. So yeah, that's the basic. You can obviously, all that information you've got on the left hand side and down the bottom, the Hikmicro, you can get rid of all that stuff and then just have your crosshairs and that information up the top on the right hand side. But I quite like just having that other stuff there to look at, the battery and the magnification and stuff. You can actually see on the screen there, it's got the white box. Well, that white box is actually where the laser rangefinder hits. So you've just got to be a little bit careful, because I found that when I was out and I hit the laser rangefinder, my reading from the laser was actually above that box. It wasn't actually the box. The further I went back, it ended up being in the box, but when I was up quite close, like 50, 60, it was just a little bit above the box. So I guess in the day when you're hunting, you've got to be quite aware of where that laser is actually hitting, just to make sure you get the right point of aim and impact. Yeah, so hopefully that covered a few things for everyone, and yeah, tune in for some more videos coming up. Thanks guys.